Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to this special edition of Broken Not Shattered with your host, Ike Webily. It is going to be a very interesting session. Today is December the 10th, 2023. And this afternoon, we are super excited about what's about to happen as we go into this session. Now, for those of you who have actually been watching us, I want to just say a big thank you. We are on the Ember months, and as the Ember months come up, people are traveling from pillar to post, from north to west, east to south, wherever you are in the world, traveling by land, air, or sea. I want to use the opportunity to cover you with the blood of Jesus Christ and grant you traveling. A very exciting season. Is a season that we celebrate the birth of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, and we are super excited. It's a time for family, it's a time of giving, a time of celebration. But we also know that there are families somewhere in the world who might not, one, know Jesus Christ as their Lord and Savior. Two, others might not even have someone to celebrate this season with. So in the midst of your celebration, remember the poor that are among us, remember the less privileged, remember the widows or the widowers, anyone or the orphans, who are among us, and just take out time to share some love with someone next to you, encourage them, give them a gift, because the biggest gift that anyone can give to us is the gift of life. And having said that, we have two more sessions for the end of this year, and today we are talking about no excuses. We have absolutely no excuses, because there are people who are dealing with serious challenges all over the world, and challenges in our family, challenges on the job, challenges in business, and all they want to do is to get some kind of hope in that hopeless situation that things will become better. And we believe that on Broken Not Shattered, that although you might go through a sense of brokenness, the fact that you're not shattered, you still can flourish in life. There is always hope in every hopeless situation. My guest today has been through some challenges as a young man, and he has been able to overcome most of those challenges. You've seen him here before. I always bring him back around this time, and as we go into this session today, you will understand why this particular unique individual is always brought into Broken Not Shattered around the same time. We met about 5 years ago. Ladies and gentlemen, my own friend, Mr. Princewell. Hey, Princewell, how are you, sir? Welcome to Broken Not Shattered.
Thank you very much, sir. Good
Good.
afternoon, good morning, everyone. Good evening. I'm very happy to be here once again.
It's always a joy when I have to have you on podcasts. Let me just give some background for those who don't know you, who have not met you before and meeting you for the first time. I came in contact with this young man, I think 5 years ago. 5 years ago, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Yes. This same weekend, 5 years ago. What had happened is a friend of mine, Charles, and I wanted to have this big all-female gospel concert throughout parts of Nigeria. And so it was called the Women of Praise. And so we identified strategic locations covering both the north, the west, and the east to have this event. We had CC Winers was one of the people on board for this event. Sinach and all the big names were supposed to be one way or the other on our billboard attending this great event. But as things began to unfold, we found ourselves promoting it. So we had a meeting with the governor of one of the states in the eastern part of Nigeria where we were hosting this event. And the governor had given us his word that we were going to give us his blessings, that we're going to go in and give us the support that we need to have this successful event. Long story short, all those promises and everything else that we had planned, money that was invested, didn't come to play. There was so much going on in the background. Our agent in America, she had some very dubious plans on how not to make sure that things went the right way. And before we knew it, we were almost stranded, and the event never happened. And I was totally crushed. I was crushed because people had given us millions of naira and US dollars to put this event together. And at the end of the day, it didn't come to play. Um a lot of time, a lot of resources uh, were put into it, but it didn't happen. I was crushed. Charles was completely devastated, and we thought it was a waste of 6, 7, 8 months of planning. Had just gone down the tubes, you know. Um, but I remember one day we were at a local station promoting the event and telling people to come out and participate in this great phenomenal concert that we had planned. Little did I know that God had a bigger plan, because there was a young man who was listening to that same radio station as I was talking, and I didn't know who was listening to me because we're talking about what, almost 30 million to 40 million people in that part of the world. But we were just talking about the event, and I thank God for that opportunity and that platform that He gave to me and my partner then Charles to speak about this event, because it was in that conversation that we were having at that radio station that this young man, who is visually impaired, and he'll tell his story in a few minutes, was actually listening to us. And he took down my phone number 3 or 4 days before we found out that the thing was not going to work. Long story short, the event didn't hold. I flew back to Lagos for the experience, which is an event that my church holds every year. It's the largest gospel concert in the world. Over 1 million people plus attend. This weekend, we had over 1 million people watching on YouTube. Forget about the numbers that were actually on ground, because I know those numbers, at least it will hit 1 million. And then over 1 million people globally were watching the experience. And I sat back at home here in Washington, D.C. area, and I was like, wow. I remember being out there in that crowd, serving with my pastor, Pastor Paul Adefarasin of House on the Rock. And it dawned on me that also there was a time when that it was around 12 midnight, that same period, that I heard a voice. And that voice is the voice of my guest, who was about to commit suicide. Do you want to tell the story, Principal, or do you want me to go ahead and tell the story?
Actually, you've already said it all, but I can also chip in one or two if.
And then tell them how you got there.
Yeah,
Tell
yeah.
them how you got there.
Okay. The thing is, when I thought it was over, that was when God told me that it was just the beginning, because I lost my mom in 2015 and my dad in 2018. So I thought it was over already, because the times were really, really hard, and I felt like there was no need living anymore. Coupled with the fact that reacting to drugs, which cost me my sight in 2011 and everything. So I thought it was just over already for me to give it all up. So 2018, I was at a point of taking my life when a voice whispered to me to place that call to you. And like you said, it was during that broadcast on the radio station here, I got your number. So I placed that call, and the voice told me that if he didn't tell you anything reasonable, you should go ahead with the um, plan.
Wow.
So, yeah. So when I placed the call at the first call, God, as God may have it, I think God also whispered to you to take the call. You take the call and stepped out of the event you were having, because I can remember vividly. You told me that you just had to go into the restroom to take that call.
That's correct.
So I spoke with you and got so many encouragements and everything to still move on. That was when I dropped everything and every plan of taking my life. So that's, I think that was in 2018 at this time, 2018, yes. And I think on the 25th of December too, you also came around to visit me in person.
That's correct.
So I really am grateful for everything.
Thank you. Wow. Yeah, just like Principal was actually saying, it definitely has to be God, Principal, because I know, and I've
Yeah.
shared this before several times, that at the end of that event, I felt it was a complete waste of resources. A lot of things had gone down the tubes. And here I am sitting down in this big arena and with over 1 million people. I'm not exaggerating. I wish you can just go type in, if you're doubting me, hi, and you're listening to this, just type in The Experience Lagos, right? It's a gospel concert. And there were over 1 million people in the crowd, speaking, singing, shouting, yelling, noise, everything. And I was sitting next to one of Nigeria's best, finest gospel artists. I was just having a conversation with her and explaining to her why the concert that she was also on that list to perform at that Women of Praise didn't hold. And then my phone started ringing, and there's no way you can hear your phone in this crowd. It is so loud. But here I am whispering to this great woman of God and explaining to her what happened in a nutshell. And my phone started ringing. So I looked at it, and it was a number that I could not recognize. So I just ignored it for a second, and then the phone kept on ringing again. And then I just had to say to myself, okay, Ike, pick up this call. So I picked up this call, and I could hear a voice in the background. My initial reaction would have been, oh, cut the phone, forget it, move on. But for some reason, I kept on saying, hello, hello, can you hear me? Hello, hello, can you hear me? And the person was trying to say something to me. I could hear them crying. I could hear them in distress. And I was like, hello, hello, who's this? Who's this? So I left this renowned gospel artist that I was actually talking to, and I rushed straight into the restroom, the toilet, because it was the only part of that whole arena that you could have some kind of quietness. And the voice on the other line was the voice of this young man, Prince Will, who was about to take his own life. I did not know what to do. I did not know what to say. All I could say to Prince Will, you're not going to go today. You're not going to go today. You can do this next tomorrow. You can do it later on. But today, you're not going to go. And I asked him to tell me his story. He told me his story. I said, you don't have a problem. We will deal with this together. We will overcome this together. You're not going to be by yourself. I will stand by you. And I'll keep on speaking and encouraging and uplifting him and uplifting him. And I know that this is one thing that God has always given to me, how to uplift people, which is what Broken Not Shattered is all about. It's actually uplifting people. So I kept on uplifting this great man, encouraging him, and God was just giving me words to say to him at that particular moment. And I kept on saying, and then I said to him, do me one favor. It is so noisy, it is so loud, it is so late. Can we have an appointment tomorrow afternoon, which was the next day, correct? I said, just hang on, let's talk the next day, and then we will take it from there. And to God be the glory, he packed up his plans of giving up his life because I had spoken life into him. And we all need that. We all need someone to speak life into us every now and then. And the next Saturday, he called me and we spoke. We spoke in detail. I asked him what was going on, what the plans were. And in all humility, I have been part of his journey since then. But I'm proud to say to my audience that Prince Will is now in university, one of the most prestigious universities in Nigeria. I know he wants to become a lawyer, but he's doing something different now. But eventually, I believe he will get to becoming a lawyer. So there are no excuses that one can actually give. Every time we get to the point of feeling suicidal, it is because we have lost hope. We have lost hope, or we have come to a hopeless condition or a hopeless state of mind. For anyone who's listening out there who finds himself in that hopeless situation, just talk to someone, find someone to speak to you, because there's always hope. There is always hope in every hopeless situation. All you just need to do is find a way to detach yourself from that environment, hear a fresh voice that says to you, you can live the next day. Take time to thank God for the gratitude with gratitude for the things that he has already done, not the things that you want him to do, the things that he has already done, and you would find out that there is always hope. My guest today is a living testimony of that hope that comes out of a hopeless situation. Lost his eyesight at a very young age, like he just said, due to a reaction of some drugs that he took or medication that he took, um, and it all went. Most likely, they must have been either fake medication or something like that. That has actually, or his body reacted to something that he wasn't supposed to take, and he lost his sight. But Prince will never gave up. When we come back, we're going to talk more what he's doing and where he is. This is what Broken Not Shattered is all about. We'll be back in a few minutes. Prince Will, hang in
Yes, sir.
tight. I'm proud of you.
Okay.
I know there's someone listening to this podcast for the first time. You haven't joined us, you are not following us. Please hit the subscribe button and subscribe to Broken Not Shattered or the BNS podcast, uh, as my media guys have decided to coin it. I always like to use the full word so that the intent of the purpose is always fresh in my mind and the mind of my audience. The numbers are increasing. We're getting bigger every day to the glory of God. My guest today, Prince Will, young man who has been through a lot. Tell us what you're doing right now, sir, in spite of the fact that you lost your sight.
Okay. Currently,
You
like
could be a
yeah.
little, don't be shy, be a little louder. Speak up some
Okay.
more.
Okay. Like you pointed out earlier, I am currently in the University of Nigeria, Nsukka. The first university Nigeria ever had. Currently, I'm studying political science. Initially, I wanted to do law, but because of maybe one or two ups and downs and the rest, so we landed with political science. Hopefully, and God's willing, we'll still bounce back and get better to do what we wanted to do earlier.
Correct.
So, but before then, I looked at because based on the strike last year, I thought it's not going to be good for me to waste my time just like that, and I decided to go get some trainings and um, tutorials with the National Broadcast Academy. So I was certified last year as a broadcaster.
Oh,
So
really? So you're now a broadcaster.
yeah,
Then we have to look
yeah,
into that and see how we can bring you on at least once a month. You can host the show.
yeah. So within last month, I officially got my certificates from the institution, National Broadcast Academy, based in Lagos, Ladipo GRA. So that was where I got trained. So then this year, January, I had to move into school proper. So I'm currently in my second year now. We just finished our first semester exams. So by next month, which is January, we'll be commencing the second semester for the second year.
Wow!
Uh,
Congratulations, but
Hopefully, yeah, hopefully by this time next year, hopefully we should be talking of final year.
wow! Congratulations.
Yeah,
Can you imagine that? Can you imagine that night where you were there, thinking of taking your life, thinking that life had nothing to offer? And in
yeah,
5 years after, you're now a college student, you're going to university, you're studying an area that would, I believe, would also help you in
yeah,
your role in life and your purpose in life as an advocate for those who have disabilities, and also in your case, for persons who are visually impaired. So you've lost your sight completely. Yes, correct?
no, not really correct because the last time I went for medical checkups, they said it could actually be fixed if the facilities provided because Nigeria down here, they said they don't have the facilities to operate my eye. Then they referred me to India then. So then because of the death of mom and dad and everything, I thought that was the main reason of giving up because we already started the process. Then along the line, they both left. So I thought it's over already because the money involved was so much, so much.
And
So
this money involved is the money that we use to actually carry out a surgery on your eye so you can regain your sight back.
yes, that's what that,
How much,
according to the report.
how much are we talking about here?
Back then they said it was about $20,000, but the inflations and everything currently is gonna make it way bigger than it was then.
Or you might be surprised; it might even work out cheaper because technology would have improved, and new
Yeah,
things come out.
true, true. Yeah.
Who do you know the hospital or doctors you were talking to in India at that time?
I made contact with some of the hospitals there in Bangalore, India. I think, let me try to recall the name of the hospital. Okay, Sankara. Yeah, yeah, Sankara Eye Clinic.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
So,
think I think what I'm going to do with you is once we get offline, I want us to revisit this.
okay.
I know at the time, excuse me, I know at the time that we actually had this conversation initially, um, those kind of numbers were just all over my head, knowing how much I had just invested. But as you're speaking right now, I feel led for us to have this conversation again.
Okay.
Let's see how we can be of assistance to put this thing in motion. It's been 5 years that our paths have crossed, and I don't know who's watching, who's listening, who might want to be part of the support to raise this money for Prince Will and see how we can actually pour into his life and enable him regain his sight. So let's talk about this off. We don't have enough time to discuss it here.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about it, see how. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. So, like I was saying, during that time, because of the whole thing, I thought maybe it's time to still move on after our path crossed. So I thought of going to school, getting myself equipped and everything, so that once you graduate and get a better thing to do and maybe better life, I can fund the treatment myself because I know I met so many persons for assistance then, but it was not forthcoming. So I decided to pursue the education so that after this stage, hopefully, gets a good thing doing and I can be able to save up for the treatment, then I'll pursue that.
Okay, let me
But
ask you. Go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry.
okay,
Go ahead.
so after then when I came into school, I also met some other persons that are visually impaired too. Actually, we actually have an association here, Association of Students with Special Needs, which include the deaf, dumb, crippled, and visually impaired as well. So we thought of how we can actually make things easier for us because it's
Correct.
not really easy here to school as a visually impaired. It's not really easy. We know what we face. So we have started the advocating and everything. We went to the school management and authorities to also make some plea and to let them know that we need some certain things to
To be able
make
to
our school.
navigate yourself around school, yes. Mhm.
Yes, yes. So we've been trying a whole lot. In June, we did our first awareness program. And also on Friday, that's the day before yesterday, we had another one. That one is the theme of that one was embracing differences, celebrating abilities. So actually, we know that there are abilities we have in us that we need to celebrate. So that was the um, idea of the program on Friday. So God is really great. He's really helping us, and we believe we'll surely get to where He wants us to get to.
Wow, good. So I'm glad to hear this. That at least there's a lot of advocacy going on your campus, and that you and your friends are riding around. I just hope that the school will hear and have an understanding of what it is to have a different ability, and to able to grant you guys the support you need to ensure that you can navigate your ways back into school and graduate well without going through all the hurdles of life. I know in this part of the world, in America here, that persons with such challenges are given a lot of support to make sure that life becomes more
Easier.
easier for them, and then getting them more included into the community
Yeah.
that they actually reside in. Advancing that inclusion is very important, and I'm glad that you and your friends are becoming advocates for it. Let me know if anywhere Broken Nut Shadow can be of support, and we'll be willing to support you guys, give you the platform, give you some resources if possible, just ensure
Okay.
that you have what you have to move forward. And anyway, I have friends of mine who are listening and who might watch this later on. Um, for them to buy a bag of $1,000 or $2,000, or buy a shirt or suit for $500 is nothing. But if we can actually channel just a little portion of that money into the welfare of the likes of Prince Will, that's an internal blessing that you will also benefit from. So those of you who know me that my heart is always in the right place. My intent of purpose is also something that I always check at every given time. And I ask that when the time comes and I reach out to you in any way you can, please support me to support this group. Principal,
Yes.
how are you able to navigate? How do you prepare your mind to overcome these challenges? Give me 4 or 5 things that my audience can listen to and say, one, this is how I overcome my challenges when I face it. Because those challenges, those principles can be applied in any other area of life. So be
Yeah.
the one to speak to them today.
Okay. Okay. First off, I think determination is the first thing. If you are determined to overcome, then you will overcome. And like I always say and always tell people, the mind is the engine room of life. If you can, first of all, overcome your mind, if you can first off tell your mind, I'm in control of you, that's the first step. Because so many persons don't really have that control of their mind. So that's where the thought of suicide comes in when you think it's over. But if you're in control of your mind and such kind of thoughts are coming in, you tell the mind, calm down, I'm in control of you. I have the final say here. So
Mm,
that's the first thing. Then secondly, I think okay, personalizing it now, how I've been able to overcome after the determination, I think finding out or knowing what you really want. You ask yourself questions. What do I think I want? What do I want to become? How do I want to achieve this?
right.
Is also another one. Then, after then, you can now ask yourself, after achieving this thing, where do I see myself? Maybe 3, 4 years from now. Then, because I believe if you can be able to plan out your life, they already say he who fails to plan is planned to fail. So if
Mm,
you can plan yourself, plan not to fail, I believe there is nothing that will make you fail. That's one of the things that has been keeping me and that's kept me moving.
well,
Then embrace yourself for the worst. Yes, because I believe if you embrace yourself for the worst and it happens, you already know that this thing is going to happen, or it's at some point you meet obstacles. If you plan it already and it happens, you can be able to move on. But if you don't plan for it and it happens, you'll be broken. That's another thing that I've also come to learn
wow.
about life. Embrace myself for the worst
Mm.
so that whenever it happens, I know that I've already planned it out. It will come and I will overcome it.
So that's like saying you're managing your expectations, pretty much.
Of, of course, of course.
Wow.
Then also try to learn to stand on your own because at some point you might not see people around you. It will be like people are running away from you, or maybe there is no one to hold on to. At that point, if you plan out to stand on your own and something happens, a challenge come or a challenges or anything at all, obstacle, challenges, adversities, if anyone comes, you already know that you have yourself and God by your side, you will overcome that.
Anyone? One more? That's it? All right, that's
That's
fine.
five,
That's fine.
yes.
That's okay. Wonderful. So if I remember very clearly, how do we overcome? Principle says one, we have
Determination, yes.
determination to take control of the situation that you shall surely overcome. You should be very determined, and that the engine of the body is in the mind. So you take
Yeah,
full control of the mind and tell the mind that, hey, mind, I am in control,
in
and
control, yes.
we shall overcome the situation. Make a
Yes.
plan. If you don't plan to
If you fail to plan, you
if you
plan
fail
to
to
fail.
plan, you will plan to fail. So make sure, number two, make sure you have a plan. Number three, expectations. Manage your expectations.
Yeah.
Don't prepare yourself and embrace yourself for the worst
For the
case scenario,
worst.
but
Yeah.
think obviously of the best case scenario. In that
Yes.
case, you basically, what principal is saying there is manage your expectations. Then Learn to stand on your own. Become independent of whatever it is. Believe in whatever you're pursuing, whatever you want to accomplish. And regardless, if you get no assistance, no help, you know that you're on your own on this one with God, obviously, guiding
Yeah.
you and protecting you and shielding you and leading you. But at the end of the day, if someone comes along to assist you, you become
Yeah.
more appreciative of what the person has offered to get you
Of
to
course.
point A. And what was the other one?
I think that's the last one.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So wow.
Um,
Thank,
literally,
thank you.
no one is obligated to make sure you're okay because they also have their own life to face. So
Say
if it
that,
doesn't
can you say
happen,
that again one more time, please?
okay, I said no one is obligated to make you feel good because they also have their own life to face. So
Yes.
if they don't come, if that help doesn't come around, you also know that you can do this. You can make yourself or make things work for yourself.
Wow. That is a very powerful statement that we are not obligated. No one is obligated to support you, and so if they do support you and they do come around to help you,
You
it's
appreciate it.
yeah, appreciate it.
It's a privilege.
It's truly a privilege and a blessing to have
Yes.
someone come in and support you in any level
Yeah.
whatsoever. It's always a joy talking to you, my brother and my friend.
Yeah.
It's so inspiring just hearing your story from the point of hopelessness to this great young guy who is aspiring to be an attorney and now working as a political going to college or university as a political scientist
Yeah.
and your voice is very good for broadcasting. So we can find a way to make it happen. Do you sing?
um, I sing, yes, but it's not really in the passion. I prefer writing because I think my writings are more work better for me than the singing thing.
Right. Okay. Now yeah, let's end with this. You wrote a book some 2 years
Okay.
ago, uh,
Yes.
The African Parent. What was behind that book? You just talked about your writing.
Yes. Okay.
Uh-huh.
The truth is, down here in Africa, we already know that parents try to impose their decisions and everything on on their children or their offspring. So I looked around and I see things happening, reading the news, you see how people are being imposed to do what they don't want to do. So especially when it comes to marriage, because that was the main point of that story. So I thought of writing something or putting something up. Then that idea came in. I had to bring in that one.
So where do you get your creative thoughts from? Is it the fact that because the eyes are visually because that one is visually impaired, your other senses are heightened? Could that be it?
Maybe it could be one of them because when you lose your sight, when someone loses his or her sight, your brain starts to think 4 times the normal speed.
Wow.
Yes,
Wow.
your ears and brain and everything becomes your eyes.
Right.
If your brains are working twice the pace it should, when the eyes is gone, it doubles up. That's what I've come to understand.
Wow.
So based on the setting, where I find myself, people around, and maybe say this because of the site is no longer there, I thought of what can I do to make a difference?
Correct.
What others haven't done, in as much as many persons are also doing the same thing,
Hmm.
but you need to stand out and make your work unique and different. So
Wow.
that was the reason for that.
And where can people find that book, The African Parent?
Currently is not really that into the market because the last time I tried putting it up with Olympia Publishers, I reached out to them online through their email and we happened to get a contract, but I couldn't fund it, so I left it. So hopefully, one of these, God's willing, it will be done.
Okay,
I still
definitely.
believe it will be done someday.
That's
And I'm
right.
also trying to work on others so that if one works, I can also pursue the next.
That's very good. That's very good. There's going to be somebody out there who I believe will pick your work and support you You have a very unique story. If you're that kind of a creative writer, and someone's also going to take your work and expand on it. And the next time when you do write, you can place it on Amazon, right? And put
Okay.
books up there where people can just go there and just uh,
Browser.
buy and order your work and buy your work. Um,
Okay.
yeah, you've proven that there's no excuses. If you're a guy without your site, can still determine to write and go back to school and do your broadcasting because you want to also become a broadcaster and have the right voice to
Yeah.
advocate for people. And it's not as if you were born blind. You were not born blind. You lost your sight as a teenager, correct?
12. At
12.
12.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's like the preteen age, right?
Yeah.
So at 12, you definitely know what's going on in your environment. You know your
Yeah.
ways around your neighborhood, and
Yeah.
I remember when I flew into Owerri to come and see you on that Christmas day. It was
Yeah.
such a joy to meet you in person. Uh, I don't normally say this, but that day I just knew that truly and truly, truly, God has a divine purpose for me because I was going through my own very very dark time and challenges at that time. But for Him to
Yes.
pick me and use me was just a great affirmation that He has not done with me. I tell to folks every time that it's out of your mess that God brings out your message.
Yeah.
He finds the trash of the world to hide His precious treasure and to show that truly, 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 He is God. I mean,
Yeah.
where was Christ born? Christ was born in the manger. What is a manger? That's where you raise horses and
Houses. Yes.
the horse poo and all that kind of stuff. And then the
Yeah.
King of Kings and the Lord of Lords and the Creator of the whole universe, the size of all places to be born. He didn't want to go to a palace. He didn't want to identify with royalty. He didn't want to identify with the rich and famous. And there's nothing wrong about being rich and famous.
The
He chose to
generals and the
Yes,
rest.
exactly. He chose to come to the least and the downtrodden of society, and that was
Yeah.
where he made his birthplace to identify with those folks, those of us who might find themselves in a very low place. But he didn't stay there in the manger. He went from the
Yeah.
manger and ended up going to the cross to identify with those who are in pain and those who are suffering. And then he
Yeah.
took his place back where he sits now with the Father and he controls the entire universe. So this is just
Yeah.
for each and every one of us to identify that the fact that you're in a very low place is not the end. Principal, thank you so
Thank you,
much.
sir.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
very much.
Do you
Thank
have
you so
anything to
much.
say to the audience before we wrap up?
I would I would say that they should keep supporting Broken Not Shattered program and the podcast because it has really helped a whole lot of persons. And the more they support, the more both physically, financially, and otherwise, I believe your kind of person is someone who would also want to see others smile. I'm a witness of that. So the more they support you, I believe you still do more to support others. So I really appreciate the opportunity and the platform given. I say thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Thank you so much. And if you want to support Principal, please feel free to reach me on Ike at incaseconsulting.com. That is my email address. Or just send a message to Broken Not Shattered and we'll pass that message on to Principal. All right, buddy. Take good care of yourself until later on. We talk on a regular basis, but maybe by God's
Okay,
grace,
sure.
we'll have you back here next year, and it might be a bigger story or a greater story. All the
Sure.
best.
Thank you.
All
Thank you, sir.
right,
Thank you
thank you.
very much.
All right, and that is the end of Broken Not Shattered. Thank you guys for joining us today. It has been a joy and a pleasure speaking to Prince Will. In my famous three words, love, peace, and more grace. Wherever you are, enjoy this season and remember the reason. See you same time next week.